Ja Morant has always been that guy. From the unranked high school guard who burst onto the scene his sophomore year at Murray State, went number 2 in the draft and took the NBA by storm. Went on to be Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Player, an All-Star, made All-NBA. None of this was given to Ja. He came in and took it. And that's the player fans fell in love with. A fiery competitor who, in a league where everybody is buddy-buddy, wanted nothing but smoke with anyone who stood in his way. From poster dunks, flashy passes, crazy layups, he had it all. Mainstream media tipped him to be the face of a generation, but just as fast as everything happened for Ja, he lost it all just as quick.
Memphis Grizzlies have suspended all-star guard Ja Morant for at least 2 games, while the league investigates a video shared on his Instagram Live early Saturday morning. In it, Morant is flashing what appears to be a gun.
Last year, Ja Morant messed up, big time, and paid the price for his actions. The NBA suspended Ja for 5 games, which doesn't sound too bad until you realise that this 5-game suspension was held against him in All-NBA voting. And despite having an incredible year leading his team to a top 2 seed fighting for the top spot, Ja was snubbed from the All-NBA first team and missed out on almost $40 million in contract incentives. Not only that, but because he damaged his personal brand, he lost several lucrative endorsement deals. His Gatorade commercial was pulled from the airwaves, which was supposed to be heavily featured during March Madness. His signature shoe with Nike was also postponed. Ja's suspension and all the controversy completely derailed the Grizzlies season. As one of the top seeds, they were looking to build upon their postseason run from the previous year, but the Grizzlies season ended in the first round of the playoffs, losing in 6 to LeBron James and the LA Lakers. But things got even worse for Ja Morant, because if you thought that he'd taken enough L's to learn his lesson, you'd be wrong, because he did the exact same thing that got him in trouble the first time, just a few months later.
Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant has been suspended for a second time after once again appearing to flash a gun on social media. The video circulated on Saturday night. It shows Morant with what appears to be a handgun while he's riding in a friend's car. Yesterday, the Grizzlies said they were aware of the video and suspended Morant from all team activities.
And this time, people weren't as forgiving. Nobody had any sympathy. His apology on ESPN seemed fake. His own fans turned on him, and even the NBA's commissioner was gobsmacked at what had happened. Ja's actions came with even bigger consequences. He was punished severely, facing a 25-game suspension, one of the biggest in NBA history, that would carry over into the following season. This suspension ruined the Grizzlies' year. By the time Ja returned, Memphis were 6-19 on the season, and that is simply too much ground to make up in the stacked Western Conference. The suspension was tough for Ja. He had to sit on the sidelines helpless, watch his teammates go out and compete without him, and he only had himself to blame. Ja finally made his return December 20th, 2023, on the road up against his rival Zion Williamson, the only player who was taken ahead of him in the 2019 NBA draft. Ja Morant came into this game ready to put all the outside noise behind him and remind the world who he is on a basketball court. And to say it was a fairy tale return would be an understatement.
Pieces that they are missing as Gullible misses the lob. Morant gets it back, goes to the other side of the rim and scores his first bucket, first field goal.
He's a guy that will accept any challenge, but that's where he is so dynamic. And then here, just able to get the leverage, get to that left hand and finish before the help.
For 12 of the first half, just one made 3. Durant, Morant and Zion, here's Gullible, he drops it in. It's only his second miss. Morant, with Jones on him, Morant, contact, it goes! Ja Morant a chance at a 3-point play. Here come the Grizzlies.
He had 34 points, 8 assists and 6 rebounds, a dominant performance. But as the sport of basketball so poetically does, of course this game came down to the last second. Tied game, 113 each. And we can all guess how this one ended.
Here goes Morant, he spins, Morant scores, and the timer expires.
Ja Morant was back, the saviour had arrived, and all of a sudden there was a different feel in Memphis. The city had their star back, and with him returned the belief. Ja was playing out of his mind, averaging 25.1 points, 8.1 assists and 5.6 rebounds, shooting a career best 47% from the field. He was a man on a mission. The Grizzlies won 6 of their next 9 games. They were looking to turn their season around, and then Ja suffered another setback, though this one he couldn't control. Ja Morant got injured. Within 2 weeks of his return, he was hurt and ruled out for the remainder of the season, and as his year ended, so did the Grizzlies. They finished with a 27-55 record, the 13th seed in the Western Conference. It was a season to forget for sure, and a massive drop off from being the number 2 seed the previous year. And worst of all for Ja Morant was in his absence, he was forgotten about. They replaced him. Everything they said about Ja becoming the next face of the NBA, all of that attention had been shifted towards Anthony Edwards, another young, hungry high flyer who from the same conference had taken his spot as the most exciting, charismatic young guard in the game. Ja's name was dragged through the mud. When people talked about the best guards in the game, he was never mentioned. He'd been surpassed by players in years prior you'd have never discussed in the same breath as him, and he also missed out on the experience of a lifetime, the 2024 Paris Olympics. Had Ja Morant stayed out of trouble, there's no question he would have been on that Team USA roster, but he wasn't even considered. Nobody even noticed he wasn't there. Guys like Halliburton, Derek White, Drew Holiday, players who play his same position, they got to bring the gold home and represent their country on the international stage. They got the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to share the floor with some of the greatest to ever play the game. Ja Morant should have been there, and yet he wasn't. And everything that went wrong and didn't happen for him over these 2 seasons were all his own undoing. Ja knows this as well as anybody, and he's accepted that. The 2024-25 season was a fresh start, and when everybody had moved on and forgot all about him, he was quietly in the lab working and getting better, and has come back this year to the Memphis Grizzlies as a new man. Ja made a massive announcement at the beginning of the season revealing that he is done with dunking. Now at first people took these comments with a pinch of salt, but Ja was dead serious. He understands the type of player he is and what he's up against. Everybody loves the Derrick Rose, the Russell Westbrook, jump out the gym slashing guards who attack. But history tells us that playstyle comes with a price. Injuries. It is not a sustainable way of playing year after year for an 82 game season. It all adds up and takes a massive toll on the body. Dunking the basketball takes a lot out of you physically. You're rising over big strong 7-footers, you're taking contact, throwing it down as hard as you can, and then you've got to land safely. It's a recipe for bad injuries, and so often in the past we've seen great players suffer from these injuries and have to change their entire play style. Ja is getting ahead of it now. While he's yet to have a serious career-altering injury, he hasn't been the most durable player in the NBA, never playing more than 70 games in any of his first 5 seasons. Ja's aware that if he continues to attack the rim the way he's done in his young career so far, a serious injury is inevitable. So instead of changing after the injury, he's changing before it to try and prevent it, and he's been advised to do so by a mentor who'd know this better than anyone, Derrick Rose. D Rose returned to Memphis last year and was teammates with Ja, and Rose, just like Morant, was young, 22-23 years old, dunking on any and everybody. As we all know, eventually his body gave in, and the youngest MVP in NBA history was never the same. He was robbed of probably an all-time great career, but while D Rose never reached the same heights as pre-injury, he was still able to have a long career in the NBA, playing until he was 35 years old. Ja has referenced Rose's mentorship, calling him a father-like figure, crediting him for helping him become a man. And perhaps this advice may be the reason that Ja doesn't suffer the same fate, because Ja Morant isn't joking, and you can see it in the numbers. Since coming into the NBA, excluding last year, here's how many dunks Ja Morant had. Now this year, through 14 games, Ja has only 5 dunks. And this play right here really shows the change. The Ja Morant of old in this situation going downhill would have one thing in mind only, and that's to take the head off the shot blocker and put him on SportsCenter. But this time, Ja didn't do that.
Two-man game with Bane. Going behind the back, attacking, hanging, and hitting!
This highlights the growth from Ja Morant, because he used to make it a personal mission to dunk on certain people. He had a dunk hit list, and when he named his #1 target, he wasn't lying about that either.
You've obviously had a lot of great in-game dunks. Who do you want to dunk on that you have not dunked on yet?
LeBron.
He was being modest. Oh, Ja took some soul to the hole. James down there waiting for him. Morant, oh my goodness. Offensive foul.
Another target of Ja's was Rudy Gobert, the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Ja had it out for him too, and that's a body he tried to catch on several occasions.
Over the last 3 minutes by Utah. Morant tries to go at Gobert.
And they got to go quickly.
Morant.
And DeAnthony Melton. Look at this, going up high.
Yes, Ja Morant's dunks will be missed, but just because he isn't dunking anymore doesn't mean he isn't still one of the most exciting players in the NBA. He has enough highlight dunks already to last him a career. What Ja is now spoiling fans with is crazy layups. Against the Brooklyn Nets early in the season, he did the unimaginable, not once, but twice in the same game.
Morant off the bounce. 360 spin and the finish. Oh. Jaren Morant spins and hits again. Holy cow!
But swapping dunking with layups isn't the only thing different about this new Ja Morant. He's fully embracing who he is as the leader of this team, a responsibility he was tasked with but perhaps not ready for in the past. He's looking more and more the part every passing day. The Memphis Grizzlies are a young team, and Ja Morant has made a real effort to become a vocal leader for this squad, a mentor to the young guys, and an extension of the head coach on the floor. We pay so much attention to Ja's athleticism that we forget that he's also an elite passer. When people talk about the best playmakers in the NBA, especially among young guards, you hear names like Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, Darius Garland, LaMelo Ball. Ja Morant is rarely mentioned in these conversations, but he should be. Right now, Ja Morant is currently top 5 in the NBA in assists, averaging a career high 8.5 per game. He's done this while making a real effort to reduce his turnovers and improve his decision making. He's also a lot more committed on defense, willingly taking the assignment of guarding the opposing team's stars. He's also become a more willing jump shooter after spending the offseason working on and extending his range. Ja's playing unselfishly. He's averaging the fewest shot attempts since his sophomore year at 15.6 per game, which in comparison to every year since becoming an all-star is seriously low. He's also averaging the fewest points per game since his rookie year, but that doesn't mean anything because the Memphis Grizzlies are winning games. They are currently the second seed in the Western Conference. They have won 9 out of their last 10 games, and in Ja's 14 NBA games this season, the Grizzlies have won 10. We have a large sample size to base this off now. We know what this team is with and without Ja Morant. From the second seed to the 13th seed to the second seed again. In a league where we have all these young guards putting up crazy stats on bad teams, there is no denying that Ja Morant actually impacts winning. He's had some great performances already, like the triple-double in a blowout win against the Bucks when he had 26 points, 10 rebounds and a season-high 14 assists. But his best performance so far this season came in his biggest test. The Grizzlies, as one of the hottest teams in the NBA, took a trip to Boston to face the defending champions in TD Garden. And what Ja Morant did in this game was special.
He's got 8. Morant drives, yes, and the foul. Jalen on the back down. Morant, ball fake, takes flight, lobs for BC. Free. Josh, speed dribble. Oh, wow. He lost it, got it back and laid it in. Morant with 17. Kiss off from 3. Morant, foul line jumper is in. Bane steps back. Morant, ball fake. Oh my God!
From 3-point shooting, passing, rebounding, scoring, and even dunking, Ja Morant did it all. 32 points, 9 assists and 9 rebounds, a near triple-double in a win on the road against the best team in the NBA. And I know what you're thinking, Ja went back on his promise of not dunking, but when you hear his explanation, it makes sense.
You dunked tonight, can you explain yourself?
I felt like if I did, Porzingis was going to block it, so.
And that's the key. Just because Ja Morant isn't dunking anymore like he used to doesn't mean he can't. It doesn't mean he won't. He still has that ability in his locker, but he's saving it for when he really needs it. Your average below the rim player in that scenario is getting stuffed at the rim by the 7'3" Porzingis, but Ja Morant will always have that ace in the hole, where if he needs to, he can change course mid-air and throw it down. Understand that dunking shooting is in his DNA, his makeup as a player. It takes a conscious effort for him not to throw it down, and I think the fact that he's able to recognize that shows great maturity. Ja Morant has grown up. At 25 years old, he's no longer the young star, he's the man now. He's changed not just as a person but as a basketball player too. He wants to win, and he's becoming both the person and player he needs to be in order for that to happen. And with the way things are looking in Memphis, with Jaren Jackson Jr. back to his best, having a career year, Desmond Bane contributing, and young players like Edie, Aldama, Wells, and even Scottie Pippen Jr. coming along nicely, the Memphis Grizzlies are not just among the best young teams in the NBA, they're one of the best teams in the NBA period, and they will continue to get better, as will their leader Ja Morant, who we are witnessing right now in real time being on course for one of the NBA's great redemption stories. He's back on track, and if he continues going this way, there's no telling what he might go on to accomplish, whether it's MVPs, championships. I'm not ruling anything out. But let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. Is this the same Ja Morant? Do you believe that he's really changed and evolved as a player? Share your thoughts and feedback down below in the comment section, and if you've made it up to this point, check out the video we made talking about LaMelo Ball. A lot of people seem to think that he's just a stat padder putting up crazy stats on a bad team, but in this video we explain why that's not the case, and why LaMelo Ball is better than anybody wants to admit. Watch that video by clicking the big box in the middle of your screen right now, and on that note is DKM signing out until next time, and peace.